Alrighty, Questers, welcome back to another quest. This time, we're doing our Did You Know Hollywood Studio style.
We're gonna run around all of Hollywood Studios and give us all the best fun facts that we have and know of to share with you about all the things Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, alright guys, let's get started.
Let's go.
Alright, so we are gonna start at the crossroads of Hollywood Studios with Crossroads of the World, which is this monument right here. You've probably passed by it thousands of times, but haven't realized that this is actually based off of the Crossroads of the World monument in California. So the original Crossroads of the World monument was built in 1936, and it sits outside what many consider to be the first outdoor shopping mall in America on the actual Sunset Boulevard, which is what some of the roads are based off of here in Hollywood Studios. And another fun fact about it is, if you go around and look at a lot of the buildings, you'll see little metal rods poking out of the tippy tops of them, which these are lightning rods designed to catch the lightning so it doesn't shock us. These are a couple of the other ones right here on when you walk in. A notable thing about the Crossroads of the World statue is that it doesn't have one, but you can't really see it because he's poking up to the sky. But Mickey's right ear is actually a hidden lightning rod. So Mickey is standing at the Crossroads of the World, keeping us safe from lightning strikes. Only he was there for Grant Gustin. Next little fun fact is going to be about the Tinseltown photo room, which is hidden over, not hidden, but it's right when you walk in, and they have a couple cool notable things inside. So inside the photo room, you can find a lot of black and white photos and other things referencing old Hollywood, but even cooler still is you can find a lot of signed movie posters, like this one from Sun Like It Hot, starring Marilyn Monroe. It is signed by Tony Curtis. Another one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, not favorite movies, favorite directors of all time. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. So they even have some Disney ones, like this one for the original Lion King movie, signed by a lot of the cast. Goes all the way to Bambi, Aladdin. You just got cool Technicolor posters for Alice in Wonderland, The Shaggy Dog, Peter Pan, and even some of the original Walt Disney Studios animation offices. They even have some posters for Broadway, the original autographs for The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and even Cinderella. If you are a Universal fan, they have a picture of not only Universal monsters themselves. You can see Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman. If you notice those two peculiar men, that is Abbott and Costello, two of some of the most popular comedians in Hollywood history. If you don't know the work, just look up Who's on First and enjoy laughing. You can also see Harold Lloyd, a famous 1920s silent movie comedy star, hanging off of a clock in the middle of a busy city street. This is one of the most famous scenes in black and white movies. You see it represented all the time, even in other places in Hollywood Studios that we'll get to later. Now we're gonna actually head into Hollywood Boulevard, the main street of Hollywood Studios. And a lot of these buildings are based off of actual buildings in Hollywood, like the dark room over there, Celebrity Five and Dime. You can look up a lot of these and see the original buildings and see how closely they resemble the Hollywood Studios one. But the one I want to talk about is this one right here on the corner, Mickey's of Hollywood. And this is a fun fact that Disney probably doesn't want you to know, which is that Mickey's of Hollywood is based off of Frederick's of Hollywood, a lingerie store. And for the longest time was the most profitable lingerie store created by Frederick Millinger. Sorry if I mispronounced that last name, but he was the creator of the push-up bra. So ladies, blame him for your discomfort. All right, next story I want to talk about is Adrian and Edith's head to toe for a couple of reasons. Number one, Disney doesn't really pick names by accident. They don't get a big book of baby names, open it up, and just find a name that works. Their names are actually specific. So Adrian in this name is based off of a man named Adrian, literally that's it, who was a costume designer for several popular movies, most notably The Wizard of Oz, a MGM film. She'll get into the significance of MGM later on. And then the Edith is for Edith Head, another popular Hollywood costume designer. She actually holds the record at one point for the most awards for costume design. But the reason she is here, and this became significant later on, is that she was the inspiration for Edna Mode in the Incredibles movies, which is the main reason I wanted to shout this out here. Plus, I just love talking about Oscars and old movies, because I'm a movie buff, which is why this is my favorite park.
Alrighty, so over in Echo Lake, there is this frozen Coca-Cola concoction stand. You can just get your basic frozen items. It is by the Peavy's Palace Pipeline, or Parlor Pipeline, my bad. Not me misreading cursive, that's really awkward. But next to it is this door/window. This door says Holly Vermont Realty. It's Hollywood Beverly Hills. And if you do look above it, there's a window that says office space for rent. This is a reference to the Disney brothers when they first came to Hollywood. They actually rented an apartment at this exact business right here, and they rented the apartment that was above it. And that's where they settled for several years in Hollywood to get their start.
So I also want to mention over here at PB's Frozen Concoctions, up against the wall, you might see a very peculiar looking hood ornament and backpack, which is actually a reference to The Rocketeer, a live action pseudo superhero movie that came out before the MCU that Disney made, and you can find a couple references to it across the parks here. All right, so for my next couple of ones, I want to talk about cartoon rabbits. One cartoon rabbit in specific, Roger Rabbit, because he's got references here. So if you look up in the window, you can see a little cartoon cutout punched out of the wall. And this is over here at Hollywood and Vine in the windows above it. That is a silhouette of Roger Rabbit from the popular Disney hybrid animated live action movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? But there's also a double Easter egg here, because if you look next to it, you'll see a window for Eddie Valorant Private Investigator, which is the private investigator that that Jessica Rabbit hires in order to figure out, well, roll credits, who framed Roger Rabbit.
And one thing I do want to mention about the Hollywood and Vine restaurant, it is a character meet and greet, but it serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All 3 times a day are going to be different meet and greets with different characters.
So another window I want to talk about, literally right next to the Eddie Valorant and Roger Rabbit window, is this one for Flower Street Pictures' Bob Weiss studio head. Now, if you're wondering why Bob Weiss sounds familiar, he is actually one of the top Imagineers in Imagineering history. He has had his hand in several projects like Shanghai Disney, the Cars Land renovation at DCA, Tokyo Disney Sea, and most notably, Hollywood Studios. He was one of the head Imagineers when designing this park, which is why he got a window here on, I guess this is Echo Lake.
Yeah.
But in a park that's full of a lot of references to movies and old Hollywood, it is nice to still see some Imagineering references in there.
Alrighty, so for 50s Prime Time, a lot of you know this as a restaurant that you can eat at, but there also is a lounge inside, for those who did not know, aka me. Been here for how many years? I had no clue. But it is also a lounge. There's a tune-in lounge inside where you can get some beverages and some appetizers. That tune-in lounge is going to be just to the left of the restaurant, right here at this little door entrance, where you can get your cocktails.
Next, I want to talk about our girl, the star of the show, Gertie.
She actually blows smoke out of her nose. I didn't know
She
that.
does. There's Ellie's Did You Know? Did you know that Gertie blows smoke out of her nose?
You don't really pay attention to it, you know?
But Dinosaur Gertie's Ice Cream of Extinction is a nod to 2 specific things that you can read on this little sign over there. But the first one is Gertie, a dinosaur cartoon that is considered to be the first animated full motion character, first appearing in 1914. And then the specific architecture they chose to go with for her building is a specific style known as California Crazy, which is designed to draw the attention of consumers with just big, flashy things. Hence why we have a gigantic dinosaur in Hollywood Studios.
I'm actually wearing a Gertie shirt right now. I love these Gertie footprints that make their way over to Gertie. So a little fun fact about the Indiana Jones Epic Spectacular, is the boulder in that show, which if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, if you have, the boulder that chases the Indiana Jones impersonator is actually over 400 pounds. That's insane. And one thing I do want to mention about Hollywood Studios, as we are getting a nice, beautiful view, is that it is actually its 36th anniversary tomorrow, the day after we are filming this. That would be I don't know what month I'm in. May 1st is going to be its 36th anniversary, which is kind of neat.
Next up, I want to talk about this little plaque here outside the cameraman statue, kind of our big marquee statue for Hollywood Studios. But on it, you can see the original logo for the park, because this park did not open as Disney's Hollywood Studios. It opened as Disney MGM Studios because it was sponsored by MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, one of the first and biggest production companies of the time. I mean, it still is, I feel like. But MGM has done several classic movies, including The Wizard of Oz, which is why that Adrian Easter egg was there that we mentioned earlier. They had a long-standing partnership with Disney and this park until they eventually decided to stop renewing their license, at which point Disney had to change it to Disney's Hollywood Studios. But this little plaque right here is one of the few places you can still find the logo hiding around.
Alrighty, so I do have some fun facts about the Brown Derby, actually. We are not going to go inside, unfortunately, for one of my fun facts, just due to the reservation system. They're not allowing anyone in at this very moment. We did ask. But one of my fun facts is that the Brown Derby is actually based off of a Brown Derby restaurant in California. And then my other one is that the inside there are a bunch of pictures of famous people and celebrities and such. Any that have a black frame are just going to be copies of ones that are from the actual Brown Derby restaurant in California, and the gold frames are going to be for actual ones that are from the original Brown Derby California restaurant. So they're going to be ones that were taken from there and handed over here.
Alrighty, so now that we've made it to the beautiful Chinese theater, I want to talk about Hollywood Studios, its opening, its original narrative, and just kind of a couple generalized overview that doesn't fit to any one specific place in the park. Disney's Hollywood Studios opened as Disney MGM Studios on May 1st, 1989. We are ironically filming this on April 30th, one day before its next anniversary. But it opened as a theme park, kind of as a love letter to Hollywood and the movie industry. It's why we have Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, Animation Courtyard, Echo Lake. These are all things you can find in actual California, in the Hollywood area, including this building behind me, the Chinese Theater. While none of the opening day attractions still exist in this park, I think the oldest one is Indiana Jones for attraction, and then Star Tours for ride.
Yes.
But it did host several fun things. There was a 2-hour backlot tour you can go where Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge now exist, which was at the time Streets of America. You can see a couple of cool things like the plane that Disney took from California to New York to scout stuff for the 1964 World's Fair. Behind me in this building was the Great Movie Ride, a ride that well celebrated great movies. You can see references to Ridley Scott's Aliens, Casablanca, Wizard of Oz. I am running out of them because I unfortunately never got to ride the ride. By the time I came here, they were starting Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which will segue me into my next set of fun facts. First of all, this park is home to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is the only ride themed to the mouse itself in Disney World. There's really only one other attraction in the park that's themed to Mickey, Mickey's PhilharMagic, which the argument can be made that's a Donald show, but this is the only ride on property that is themed to Mickey and Minnie. And speaking of Mickey, we are currently standing on his face. When this park first opened, it opened as the world's largest hidden Mickey, at least the biggest one in Disney World. If you look, you'll notice two little black spots on the ground. Those are Mickey's eyes. The Chinese theater behind me is his mouth. Echo Lake, the whole lake itself, is one of the ears. And then the Brown Derby restaurant used to have a little black painted section on it, rounding out the ears. It has since kind of been demolished to make way for the Sunset Boulevard expansion, the first major expansion in the park's history. But even if you look on some of the maps, you can still make out Mickey's face in it, which I think is very cool and should still count as a hidden Mickey. So the Chinese Theater is the next thing I want to talk about. It is a very significant building in the history of Hollywood. Many famous actors have their handprints at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. There's several stars, one notable exception that we'll talk about when we get closer to the actual handprints there. But for the building itself, Disney actually borrowed the blueprints for the Grauman's Chinese Theater to build it. And it is one of the only full-scale replicas in Disney World. Disney does several replicas. We mentioned the Crossroads of the World over at the front of the park. That's even a miniature replica of the one in Hollywood. This one, though, is a full 1-to-1 scale replica, which is something that Disney hardly ever does. And what makes it even more fun fact is when Grauman's was renovating the building, they actually then borrowed Disney's blueprints for the theater because Disney had more up-to-date building codes on it, so it was easier to adapt there, which kind of makes it a weird thing where like the one here was based off of Grauman's, but now the Grauman's one is actually based off of our Chinese theater. Circle of life. And this one is actually just the Chinese theater. It's not Grauman's Chinese theater because Disney did not buy the licensing rights to Grauman's, which is why we simply call her the Chinese theater. And we're gonna get a little bit closer for my next set of fun facts. So next up at the Chinese theater, we're gonna talk about handprints. There are several handprints in the cement of this park of famous stars, including 5 Disney stars. When the park first opened, one of the big ceremonial induction things they did was have Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and Roger Rabbit and Daisy all put their handprints in the cement. And it's actually very funny that Roger Rabbit's there because, well, we don't talk about him anymore. He's like Bruno. So the most significant handprints I want to talk about is Audrey Hepburn's, because she's actually not in the Grauman's Chinese Theater Hollywood Walk of Fame. It kind of was an oversight that didn't get noticed for many years. Audrey Hepburn is a Hollywood star, most notably Breakfast at Tiffany's. And she actually, when she got the call from Disney to put her handprints there, she cried. She was so excited to finally get to put her handprint somewhere, considering it's so many actors' dreams to do it, even at the time. And then, well, Grauman's called her a couple weeks later, wanting to correct their oversight, and she told them no. She was so offended by them not asking and only noticing when Disney did that she just refused to put her handprints there. So the only place you can see Audrey Hepburn's handprints on a Chinese theater is here in Hollywood Studios. A couple more noticeable handprints are R2-D2 and C-3PO to go along with the release of Star Tours here in Hollywood Studios.
All right, so along with the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway being the first ever Mickey and Minnie ride / technical attraction, I do also want to mention that the train, the whistle that you hear when you are on your cart, which is the train, is actually the whistle that's been recorded from Walt Disney's original Steamboat Willie. It's the whistle from that. They took it and they put it in that. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway also has the most hidden Mickeys in an attraction to date. Now that was as of last year. It could have changed, but as far as I'm aware, it still stands.
I don't think Tiana's has more.
I was like, I don't think Tiana's, and that's the most recent attraction we've had, I believe. So this has the most hidden Mickeys. I've always wanted to try and find some, but apparently they're also like the most hidden too. I mean, it makes sense. It is a Mickey attraction, so like finding a hidden Mickey within Mickey's is kind of hard.
Yeah. As we're here in Animation Courtyard heading to our next little did you know fact in Star Wars Launch Bay, I did want to talk about the fact that while we can't see any of it and the backlot tour did get demolished, this was a actual working movie studio at one point. There were several TV productions and movies partially filmed here, Golden Girls, and the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Also, parts of it were filmed here, most notably anything kind of standing in for Tortuga was filmed on the back lot. Can't come show you that because that's been destroyed. But there also was a working animation office where 3 notable Disney films were made. Brother Bear, my mother's favorite princess movie, Mulan, and then me and my mother's favorite Disney animated movie, Lilo and Stitch, was fully animated here, which I don't feel like Disney talks about that much. That Lilo and Stitch, one of the most popular non-Mickey, non-princess animated movies, was animated in Hollywood Studios.
That's really cool.
But now you know.
And yeah, he's represented nowhere in here. It's kind of sad.
You got one ride and it sucked.
And that was in Magic Kingdom.
Justice for Stitch. All right, the first one I want to talk about in this building is this movie poster here for Star Wars Revenge of the Jedi. And if you're wondering why you've never heard of that movie, well, that was originally supposed to be the title for Star Wars Episode 6 to close out the original trilogy with Star Wars Revenge of the Jedi. It made it to very few posters and promotional art before George Lucas kind of sat down and realized, you know what? Revenge is not the Jedi way. So I returned it to Return of the Jedi. But a couple of these pieces, like here in Hollywood Studios, still exist that showcase the original title. Another cool thing you can find a lot of in Star Wars Launch Bay is concept art from not just movies, but TV shows. Because you can see the Grand Inquisitor and Callus from Star Wars Rebels that aired on Disney XD shortly after Disney got the Star Wars rights. You can see original Captain Phasma concept art from The Force Awakens. Even some older ones like this probe droid from Empire Strikes Back, droidicas from The Phantom Menace, even a Star Wars A New Hope, some of the original bombing of the Death Star concept art. But the coolest thing that you can see in the lands is concept art from before they started filming during the original run-through of Star Wars. It was done by an artist named Ralph McQuarrie. A lot of Star Wars fans know this. You can actually see it represented a lot in Star Wars Launch Bay. Most notably here, this was the original look for C-3PO and R2-D2. Yeah, I don't like him either.
He looks very freaky.
This continues all the way over here. You can see one of the original looks for Yoda before Frank Oz and the Jim Henson Company came in and made him what we know today. But even some of them here where you can see the original land speeder, 3PO, R2, and Luke, but not the one you know. As you can see represented here, the original design for Darth Vader. Notice he has, where is he? A gun on his hip. The lightsabers look very different, and Luke even looks extremely different, sporting a scuba mask much like his father, and his original name was supposed to be Luke Starkiller. Yeah, I don't know, guys. George, his ideas needed a couple drafts before it got good. Next up, I want to talk about the Carthay Circle building over here, which is more locally known as the Once Upon a Time store here on Sunset Boulevard. It's just a store that sells like Disney themed items and such, not like specific theme, but it is themed after the Carthay Circle in actual Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, which is where Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs first premiered, one of Walt Disney's most prolific events to happen. It was the first ever full-length animated feature. It was Walt's first, of course, and many people said it was going to fail, but Walt believed in it, and well, it was rewarded for it. It is still one of the highest grossing films of all time, adjusted for inflation, and it helped kickstart Disney World, Disney Parks, and well, just Walt Disney's career as we know it. So I want to talk about a bus advertisement real quick for the Tip Top Club. It is an advertisement that has gone from being just a reference to now a teaser for a holiday overlay. See, there was a Tip Top Club at the Hollywood Tower Hotel before its tragic accident. which made the elevators disappear and a few people, but we don't talk about that. But every year for Jollywood Nights, they have created the Tip Top Club and brought it to Hollywood Studios. So if you come during Jollywood Nights, you can see it. They have swinging jazz music, live performers, and a couple of fun cocktails served in fun champagne flutes.
Alrighty, so a really interesting thing about this theater, which we're not going to be able to go into right now, it is closed for the day. But I did want to mention an interesting fact about this show, the Beauty and the Beast show. This show did debut the exact same day that the movie Beauty and the Beast, the animated cartoon, came out, which was November 22nd, 1991. The show debuted the exact same day and has been here ever since.
All right, next we're going to talk about my favorite ride in this park, the Hollywood Tower of Terror, based off of the Twilight Zone. So this actually has to do with the unique color of the Tower of Terror. If you look at California's old Tower of Terror before it got rethemed to Guardians, Paris's, really any of the true blue Tower of Terrors, you notice they're a lot lighter, a lot more beige-ish, not quite this a pink, I feel like orangish color that you see here. And that is for one specific reason that you have to blame on the country of Morocco. But the actual country of Morocco, the Moroccan Land Pavilion over in Epcot. You see, when they were building this, they knew it was going to stand at 199 feet, 11 inches. And that meant that you would be able to see it from Epcot over near the Morocco Pavilion. So they were smart and they colored it to match a lot of the structures over there and kind of style it in a shape and style that fits with the Moroccan landscape over there. So when you're across World Showcase and you see a building that looks like the Tower of Terror, it is the Tower of Terror, just themed to look like Morocco.
One of my favorite things to learn about the Tower of Terror is right outside of the exit, right before you enter on into the gift shop, there is this door right here with a sign right above it that says the Sunset Room. It is rumored that this was supposed to be a restaurant that the Imagineers were developing at the time of the ride, when the project then did get scrapped. So they then just left everything here as if it was an actual restaurant before the tragedy that is Tower of Terror. They even have the menu here for it, which if you do look very closely at the date, October 31st, 1939, the date is the day that the Tower of Terror did have its infamous accident. So it's as if this was frozen in time with the restaurant being closed. All right, so one thing I do want to mention, I don't know if this is still happening because the last time I saw anything about it was for 2023, but I do think this is still something really cool that they used to do. They used to do photo shoots inside of the Tower of Terror. So for like $100, you can get a session for 20 minutes. You get a Disney photo pass photographer who would then take you into the gift shop of the Tower of Terror, and they would pose you with like a bunch of different Tower of Terror things. It's a really cool thing. If you do look it up, there are a bunch of photos online for it, but again, I don't think that this exists anymore, unfortunately, but it's still pretty fun. Okay, so fun fact about Rock and Roller Coaster is actually going to be with your cart, your seat. There's actually, in the car, it fits, I believe it's 25 people if I'm not mistaken.
24 or 26?
24 even? Okay, it's somewhere in there. So 24 to 26. But there's actually over 125 speakers on the cart itself. There are going to be 4 in your headrest, and then there's 1 in your physical seat as well. So there are 5 speakers in your seat to give you more of an immersive, like, rock and roll concert.
You gotta get your backstage pass?
You do, you gotta get, I wouldn't know.
Alrighty, so we talked about Harold Lloyd hanging up the clock tower early on. We're now on Grand Avenue, right in front of Muppet Vision. The clock tower in here, you can see a Gonzo hanging off the clock tower, and an homage to that. He's even in black and white, just like the original little picture. Alright, so we're now inside Muppet Vision for our next fun fact. Right here, you can see the little security check-in office, all fun themed. You can see the Muppet babies, little Muppet Fozzie, little Muppet Gonzo, even back there. Just cute little theming. But if you look on the sign, you can see it says back in 5 minutes, key is under the mat. Well, we have a mat right here. And if Ellie would be so kind, you can see the key under the mat. No, it is bolted. It's not a free souvenir, but it is cute that the Even Imagineering decided to put that detail in there. Next, Ellie has a fun fact for Muppet Vision 3D.
3D. So a very fun fact. Actually, it's kind of a sad fact. That's okay.
A did you know fact,
It's a
if
did
you
you
will.
know fact, if you will. Yeah, exactly. So did you know about Muppet 3D Vision? This is actually the last project that Jim Henson has worked on. And once he was done with it, he actually did die shortly after. They did not wind up releasing Muppet 3D Vision right away. They did wait about a year after his death to go ahead and release it as an attraction. That's all I know about it. That's the extent of my knowledge.
That's the fun fact. All right, so we are outside Pizza Rizzo to talk about old restaurants. So if you see, they have a sign here that names Pizza Rizzo the best pizza on the planet. And you're probably wondering, where's the on the? Well, it's in between pizza and planet. And the reason they did this is because at first glance, it looks like it just says Pizza Planet, which was the old restaurant that used to be here before they made Grand Avenue fully Muppet themed.
So a fun fact about this X-Wing, this is actually a real prop from the TV show The Mandalorian. It was in season 1, episode 6, and it was during a battle scene. So really cool that this is an actual prop from Star Wars. Hello.
You know your way around an N1 starfighter engine?
I try to.
Let's hope so. Any work done on my ship, the margin of error is 0. Safe travels now.
Safe travels, sweetie.
Safe travels.
0.
So over in Galaxy's Edge, they have a ton of the Easter eggs for just Star Wars equipment and stuff that has kind of been seen throughout the movies, plus some that just looks like it's been used. But one of them I wanted to point out, over by the exit for Rise of the Resistance, in its little gift shop area, you can see a blaster, which is Han Solo's blaster from the original trilogy in its holster. And then this other one, this big kind of rifle-looking attachment, suspiciously looks like the one that Cassian Andor used in Rogue One, but I'm not sure. Let me know down in the comments if I'm right or wrong, but it's this one right here. Next fun fact is about Bronto Roasters, a restaurant here in Galaxy's Edge, specifically about the roaster itself. If you'll notice, it's kind of weird, a little bit different, not a true fire pit, but what it is a pod racing engine, first shown in episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and they have taken a leftover engine here, attached it to a little spigot done by our little fairy droid, and he grills some meats. All right, so the next one is over here in Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities, and specifically this mural that rests when you first walk inside. This looks familiar. It's because it is in Chancellor Palpatine, or Emperor Palpatine's office at the end of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. When the Jedi come to arrest him, you can see it. And a lot of it held significance because this species right here that's depicted throughout all of it is believed to be Darth Plagueis, who was Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine's master. So it might be an heirloom from that. All right, next fun fact is about the Sarlacc, also here in Doc Ondar's. This is not only a reference to the Sarlacc pit from Return of the Jedi Episode 6 that Jabba feeds all of his prisoners to, but it also has a significant meaning in the Star Wars universe. So when Galaxy's Edge was opening, Marvel Comics and Star Wars teamed up to release a series called, well, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and in it they revealed that this Sarlacc was in fact stolen, well, I guess reclaimed, by Han Solo and Chewbacca during their more scoundrel-based days, and given to Doc as payment for, well, services rendered. A little fun backstory that you only get by reading comics. There are several beasts pictured. You can see the Xenu from Attack of the Clones, Tauntauns from the planet Hoth, and Empire Strikes Back. You can even see a lot of famous Star Wars helmets, like the Crimson Guard from, I want to say, Return of the Jedi, that protected Emperor Palpatine. But there's a couple specific ones I really want to talk about. Number one, right there, if you see the Scout Trooper helmet that has been repainted, that's actually a reference to Star Wars Rebels. Again, show on Disney XD, one of my favorites. And it's actually a Scout Trooper helmet that Ezra Bridger, one of the main Padawans in that show, stole and then had Sabine Wren paint for him in order to make it fit his personality. And he uses disguise for several episodes. And this next mask you might recognize as the Mandalorian. This was actually put in right when the TV show first premiered. It is believed to be Din Djarin's actual helmet, later claimed by Doc Ondar. So maybe that's coming up in an episode of The Mandalorian. And next to it, if you can see the little prongs right there-ish, is the disintegration rifle, which part of the reason that The Mandalorian has it is actually really cool, because when Boba Fett first appeared, it was in a Christmas special where he used that disintegration rifle. And later on in Empire Strikes Back, you have that famous Vader line of no disintegrations. But they decided, you know what? Mandalorian doesn't care. He'll get a disintegration rifle. So if you look above Docking Bay 7, you'll see a crate up there that says 77. Next to it is a crate that says 80 and a crate that says 83. These are references to the years that the original trilogy came out. New Hope in 1977, 1980 for Empire Strikes Back, and 1983 for Return of the Jedi. Just a cool little movie Easter egg you can find, since this park doesn't really have anything that says Star Wars in it, just Galaxy's Edge and Black Spire Outpost. All right, so next I want to talk about this crash site here towards the edge of Galaxy's Edge on Toy Story Land side. This is a long-winded story, but first it goes back to the original Star Tours ride, which was piloted by, well, pilot droids. They were little robotic creatures that you would see move around, and one of them, the one piloting your ship, was a terrible pilot, which is why you ended up going to so many different planets other than your destination. Well, later on, they repurposed this ride, and it gets replaced with 3PO and R2, but Rex still lives on. He ended up over at Oga's Cantina. He's your DJ here on the planet of Batuu and Black Spire Outpost, and many believe that he ended up here because he crash landed in this pod right here for being a terrible driver, and you know what? Just decided to quit the pilot thing and become a DJ. That little midlife career change we all have. All right, now that we are in Toy Story Land, I want to talk about unique theming details, specifically in this land, like how the popsicles sticks make up the benches. And then as you can see, the fencing are all Connect pieces, something I played with a lot as a kid. You have Scrabble tiles making up the restrooms and even little Tinker toys and other such game parts hidden throughout the land. Just kind of a fun theming to help bring home that sense of a kid created this land, which is stuff they had hiding around. Including how the restaurants for this land are made up with letter blocks, including girls spelled out on one side, and then it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see boy on the other side, kind of cattywampus. And this all comes to a schoolyard joke. As you can see next to the girls' restroom is the game of cootie, because, well, according to little boys, girls have cooties.
One thing about this land that I find absolutely amazing is that they used over 400 toy blocks to create it. It's kind of crazy. That's a lot. Did you know about the Slinky Dog Dash ride? This is actually Disney World's first second launch coaster. You may think that Space Mountain has one when you go into that tunnel, but it actually doesn't second launch you the way that Slinky Dog Dash does.
Alrighty guys, that's gonna bring us to a close on our Did You Know Hollywood Studios style. I hope you learned something. If not, please yell at me in the comments for not having fun facts.
And of course, if you guys have any fun facts, please do let us know so that way we can steal them. I'm just kidding. But do please just let us know for in the future we can take a look and we can discuss them together.
Yeah, we're learning more and more about theme parks every single day, so we're probably gonna do another one of these further down the line. But until then, please make sure to check us out on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads.
Pretty much everywhere at ParkQuesters. We also do now have a Patreon, which is also under ParkQuesters. You can also find that on our YouTube page, Instagram page, all of that good stuff. And you will be able to have some behind the scenes content and some special content like Get Ready with me. But I think that's it, right?
Yeah. And one last thing before we go, make sure to please leave a like and subscribe on this video.
Yes.
Helps to push engagement, helps to get us closer to our goal of 5,000. We are just short of 4,000 at this time.
Yes.
So we're really looking forward to revealing our surprise for you all. It's gonna make you all feel like VIPs.
Oh, for sure. That's not a hint at all.
That's not a hint at all. But until then, guys, we'll see you on our next quest.
Bye.